Okay, so we're going to change to Screencast-O-Matic this week because my Kaltura is not working. I've already done the lecture once and it didn't work, and then I tried it again and it didn't work. So we're doing it this way. Anyway, so this week we're going to be talking about the golden age of American growth called the Affluent Society. And the reason why it's the golden age is because no time before 1951 in human history was food so available and cheap. There's this really growth of economic expansion. Prices are stable. There's low unemployment, and the standard of living just keeps rising. And so the standard of living really hits home with even ordinary citizens. You have the diet, housing, income, education, recreation, and anything else that you can think of. Almost all United States citizens lived better than their parents and grandparents because of all of these things, right? That's the American dream, to have your children and grandchildren have things better than you. That's a little harder today in American society just because of the way of our standard of living and the way the economy is, but it's still there. During this time period, you also get the growth of things like television, air conditioning, automatic dishwashers, long distance telephones, jet air travel, so on and so forth. And so, with all of these things, you get a changing economy. People begin moving west, and they begin moving west, a lot of them, because that's where the government contracts go. They go to Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Denver, places, Phoenix, places like this, to build things like guided missiles, airplanes, radar, shipyards, military bases, and this really becomes, the 1950s are the height of U.S. manufacturing, and it will go down after this, but there are reasons for that, mainly because you are transitioning from a wartime to a peacetime economy, and you're booming, but a lot of the manufacturing jobs that are important are just not going to be there later because they're just not able to keep making things at such a high capacity. The South even mechanizes in a lot of ways, and it begins to shift from labor-intensive cotton into other agricultural products like soy and poultry and raising cattle and things like that. In the meantime, people are still migrating from the South, and they will migrate because of these jobs to the North, to the West, and the Northwest. And in the 1950s alone, 3 million people leave leave the South for the North, a fairly large amount of people. Excuse me. And so what this does is it creates a suburban nation. And so the drive of our economy becomes building houses and consumer goods. Um, and there's this real shift to the suburbs as opposed to the center of big cities for all of these things. In the 1950s alone in America, the number of houses doubled. Levitt towns began popping up everywhere, and what these were are pre-assembled houses that you bought in a kit from somewhere. They would ship the kit to you, and then somebody would come and build your house for you. We actually have one on our family ranch, and it's basically a catalog house. And so, like, little pockets of suburbs everywhere in America began popping up with these things. They were priced well as well, right? So most Americans who wanted to move into the suburbs could afford these things. And what you get out of this suburban nation is you get malls that people reach to from their cars. The United States really becomes a car-driven society, even more than it already had been by the 1950s, as people begin leaving the cities for these smaller towns. And so you need a place for people outside of cities to buy things, and that's why you get things like the mall where they can come and do one-stop shopping, drive there, then drive home. which is funny because now malls, in a sense, are becoming obsolete. Not so much in Alaska because you're so far away from everything, but in the lower 48 because you can get anything mailed to you in 2 days. And so this really transforms daily life and habits. You get commuting to work every day by car instead of public transportation. You get vacations based on that you can drive to Yellowstone National Park in a couple days, etc. And this really alters the landscape, the physical landscape of the West as well, because now you get things like motels, fast food, drive-in movie theaters. You get McDonald's in 1954. There's one in 1954, and in 10 years there's 700, and they're selling over 400 million cheeseburgers a year. And so what you get is this idea that the car really symbolizes the identity of freedom. It's about mobility. It's about choice. Like, I choose to go to the mall today, and I can do that because I have a car. It's this idea of leaving the urban landscape for the open road. And so you really get, with this growth of the West in California, California becomes this symbol of post-war boom. And so from 1950 to 1975, you get almost 30 million people who move from the West, from the East, west of the Mississippi. These are people who are migrating to other areas in America to get a better life. And they're moving en masse to the West and the North and the Northwest because that looked like it was a place of opportunity. And so what you get is you get these centerless towns or cities that are being built like Houston, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Denver, which are very much different from the eastern counterparts like Baltimore and New York City, where in the east you have a downtown economic center linked to houses by public transportation, and you got really compact people living in a small area. In the East, what happens in the West is you get these cluster of single homes and suburbs that are united by highway systems, and it's just what we would call urban sprawl. There is no real downtown in Los Angeles. There is, but it's not like the downtown in New York. Denver's the same way. There is a downtown, but that wasn't the nice place for a long time. You didn't want to be downtown. Whereas in the East, in those cities, that's the economic center of their cities. So that is a demographic change. Interestingly enough, though, is you even as people are moving west of all colors, creeds, ethnicity, and races, you still get segregation in these suburbs. In fact, suburbs in a lot of ways create even more rigid boundaries because there are distinctions. As late as 1990, nearly 90% of all suburban whites lived in communities with non-white populations of less than 1%, meaning that it's a very segregated, even though it's not segregated like the South, it's not state mandated and followed through with police action. It's just people are choosing to where they want to live, and African Americans are choosing to live with African Americans, white Americans are choosing to live with white Americans, and so on and so forth. So even though you have this huge mass movement of people west, you still get segregation.
What gets in their way?
You have this segregation, and you also get...
Find out more at goarmy.com/team.
Some people think talking about soft things makes you a softie. So if I'm going to talk about the incredibly soft fruit of the loom Eversoft tea, I'm going to do it while riding a grizzly. But if I'm going to go on about how the 100% Eversoft cotton feels like a poem against my supple skin, I'm going to do it in the manliest way possible.
By the end of the
express that this lay flat collar
9 out
true,
of 10 families
like my heart,
own a television.
is with machismo.
It becomes not only the common
The fruit
source
of the loom
for news,
Eversoft tea. You don't
but
have
also
to be
the
a
common
softie to
source
love
for
how soft it
entertainment.
is.
And television really changes
The moment you
a lot of
realize
the
your
way
family
the
grew,
habits
but
that
your
we
washer
have,
didn't.
especially
At Lowe's, we have appliances that fit your family's lifestyle, backed by our 30-day satisfaction guarantee.
Hurry into Lowe's and save 5% every day with your Lowe's Consumer Credit Card.
Stay connected at the Final Four with the NCAA Final Four Phoenix app presented by AT&T.
people not eating at the house. Or,
Watching the big dance calls for big refreshment. So grab a delicious ice cold Coca-Cola and enjoy the game. Coca-Cola. Taste the feeling.
And
Frank
without
Martin, fifth
few
year
exceptions,
head
we'll
coach,
talk a little
Columbia,
bit
South
more about
Carolina.
television shows later, but with few
Got the
exceptions,
school
they're
colors on.
a non-controversial.
A moment ago, he had a little bit of a serious interaction with PJ Dozier.
Yep, the intensity, don't let down. He
And
doesn't want them
really
to take a play
geared
off,
towards a
and you
middle-
know how important it is.
middle-class
It's kind of like how you were yelling at me this morning to get ready for this broadcast.
Oh, sure.
Foods ready for them.
Come on, Spanarkel, hurry up.
That's it. Look at this matchup, too. Thornwell, SEC Player of the Year against Allen.
Little crossover, nice floater, too strong. Thornwell, quick outlet pass, notice.
At the end.
Chioza is back, hero of the win the other night. But Thornwell got a nice open look and cans the three.
What you're trying to do if you're South Carolina is defend, and then rebound and look for kicks. And that's a beautiful way to drag the Florida team towards the middle of the floor and have a delayed break for a jumper.
There's Chioza.
And so this is
Barry's out on the floor also now.
Yeah, Canyon Barry, sixth man of the year in the SEC, but bothered by an ankle injury since mid-season. Watch Thornwell.
Yeah, he gets lost there, but does he get out of the play? No, he's still pestering on the way towards the basket. There's a gritty release pass on the rebound.
Canyon Barry, guarded by Dozier.
The idea of a
Libertarian
libertarian
backdoor cut his pressure on the perimeter. He's very good at it.
But this is where it starts.
Keith Stone is also on the floor in the corner for Kayvon
And
Allen.
it really began the process of conservatism too. The idea that freedom meant autonomy.
So you look at Thornwell. You look at the offensive side of the equation, and then defensively, what we mean by there, Vern, is what guys on the offensive side of the floor are trying to do against him. He just shuts them down. 4 of 27 defensively. We talk too much about his offense, but he's all defensive in the SEC also. Great all-around player.
Well, we've had another malfunction with the shot clock. It stopped at 10. It just said, I ain't going no further.
People are using this. We'll talk a little bit more about the president and the federal highway interstate system here soon.
Let's take another look at Thornwell.
People are going there.
The entire game that he brings to the table. Now he gets lost a little bit. Watch the flick from behind. Right there, you see it's just enough to throw Allen off to make him know that he's behind him. And now he comes down and he trails the play. And where are all the Florida players? They've retreated to the middle of the floor. They've been dragged down by that quick burst by the guards for South Carolina. Leaves your perimeter wide open.
Thornwell is a senior from Lancaster, South Carolina, Oak Hill Academy. Had some problems mid-season. He was suspended by Frank Martin, Player of the Year in the SEC. On your right, Barry Clark, assistant coach now to Frank Martin. You and I had interesting. Where do we know him from? Well, you said he was the head coach at Miami. And I said,
he emerges from World War II as the
and we named a few more schools on top of it.
Both right.
Very important that our president also served.
Now, this could become a pain for the players. But to your question at about the 1 minute mark, 18-minute mark, this will start to get disruptive if this lasts for a period of time.
Take a look at the bracket. I'm trying to see what the, we're going to get an explanation here.
You look at that Oregon win last night against Kansas, too.
To have
so it is now down, the shot clock is down to
so to win on that, and he also got the fairly well-known, but not quite.
And the explanation is
2 on the shot clock from the previous possession.
Okay.
They brought a new mechanism, and whether that's going to solve the problem, I don't know. But they have a new mechanism at the scorer's table that the operator can use.
There are a couple of guys over there who are hoping so.
Yeah, exactly. With 2 on the shot clock, remember, catch and go.
Knocked out as didn't start the clock.
Which we'll talk more about.
Notices at least 1 second.
Good catch. Good catch on your part right there. That's exactly what Notice is saying. They're going to slide down Chioza just a little bit. Barry's giving him a head fake to see if he can get it to think about a blind lob over the top.
So still 2 seconds.
Forgotten
Chioza to inbound.
Barry had him for a second.
taxes and garage earnings.
Way off the mark. That's a shot clock violation. Didn't touch the rim.
You know what I like about that defense just then? Guys were jumping towards the three-point shooter, but they didn't foul him.
And because of the television, candidates are in every
9-7 early going here from Madison Square Garden.
Eisenhower had this quota.
Winner will
We're
take
selling
on
the presidency
Gonzaga
like we're selling toothpaste.
in Glendale, Arizona next weekend. Final four.
Also, they're advertising people. A couple of them actually
Shoot right over him if he wants.
toothpaste.
Yep.
And he gets the foul.
It's kind of a
They get Chioza.
And really, Eisenhower
Chioza is
says, I'll
6
go to
feet
Korea
tall.
and I'll
Great
end
player,
the
good
Korean
defensive
War.
player, but you
And
don't
he
have the
won
size against a
1952,
guy like Thornwell, who's
1956,
6'5",
two
about
terms.
210 and
Fairly
strong.
easily.
He's going to
Quite
use his
easily,
body and
actually.
size to go right over you usually.
But
And
the
he does not
Republican
get
Party
called.
was
Chioza,
not.
that is, with the foul. They gave it
And in
to
1956,
Kayvon
they'll
Allen.
actually
So here's
become the first
Thornwell,
president in US history
83%
to
free
win
throw shooter.
an election without
And he gets the first.
Congress.
Kayvon Allen will take a
And
rest.
he really does keep
And
things
Justin
in
Leon
drama
comes on, number
to a minimum,
23.
which is
Vernon, the 2 games combined against Florida, he went to the line 23 times. So an average of about 11 and a half or so. You know, you get to the line 12 times in a game and you're an 83% shooter, you're going to, Florida will have some trouble on their hands.
Again, those 2 games, SEC regular season conference play, and they split 1-1. Casey Hill, notice.
This is the first time in 20 years that there is a
Beautiful drive, tough
big
shot.
business.
But believe it or not, that's what Frank Martin wants his guards to do. He wants them to
Big business
travel through the
begins to
middle of
have
the
a
floor,
bit more
throwing
of
up
a say
floaters.
in
Kite sock.
issues. This
Both
is
sides,
not to
brother.
say that Eisenhower
There's a floater
necessarily
again.
aligns himself
And
with
the
big
rebound
business
comes down to
partners,
Leon. Florida will
with
run.
the actual
Likes to go all the way and
companies.
kick.
He does have
Back
many people
outside,
who
Leon for
have
3.
who,
Well done. Hill leading the charge 2
work
times
for
there.
him
Run it to the middle, get it down the floor, and kick it and trail.
So, for instance,
12-11 Florida.
General Motors actually is
Entry pass,
an
Silva.
advisor to
Good defense, wasn't it?
he is
Straight
one
up.
of the
You're allowed to go straight up. The arms
what
didn't
is
come
good
down
for
in a
the
foul
country
motion.
is good for
Kavarius
General
Hayes
Motors,
with the
and what is
defensive
good
motion.
for General Motors is good for the country.
So
Even though
a
he
catch
did
on
not
the blocks,
champion
but watch
big
the arms
business,
of the Florida
Eisenhower
players.
did
Just
champion
straight up there
business
until the
and a lot
ball
of small
becomes loose.
businesses
And then
also.
watch Hill take
And fiscal
everybody to the
concern.
basket with him, Vern, and then you got a
He
delayed
wanted to
cut.
scale back
Beautifully
spending
executed.
even on the
You think that's
military.
freelance, but it's more
And
of
he is
their
actually
design of how they want to get some of their open shots in the trail.
Well,
the
discuss briefly real soon.
Possession now
He
goes
even
to Florida,
expanded the
12-11.
like Social
Off the
Security.
bench.
And what he wanted to do is he wanted to
Gorjak
move
Gak.
the Republican Party and America
7-footer
forward.
from.
And
Oh,
he
they got
also
Chioza with an offensive foul.
They sure did. Right arm came out.
Public Works
And
project
Felder is on the floor, number 4
which is the
defensively,
building of the
freshman. But watch him keep his body in
41,000
front,
interstate.
and he looks immediately,
And he
Felder, for the
could argue
officials, say,
that
hey,
he built
that's
it for a
an
lot of
offensive
reasons,
foul.
but
Where's my
one
call? And he got it.
Rakim Felder, number 4, with the ball
Argue
now.
that it's for safety.
He's a
and
freshman
war.
out
Build
of
these big
Brooklyn,
places
Lincoln High
and that
School.
will give people the chance to be able to leave towns if
There's
an
their
atomic
read. They
bomb
look for that, and then they look for
Or
Cornwell to get involved.
If worse comes to
Dozier
worse and the
to
Russians
Felder.
invade, which
Oh,
people
quick
were,
hands.
worried about.
Leon saved.
There
2
will
on
be
3, no
ways
numbers
for,
here.
People to get to safety.
And Casey Hill will slow it down a bit.
Yeah, that was great transition defense by South Carolina.
America, mostly.
Knocked out of bounds
But
by
You
South
also have the
Carolina.
idea
Back
that
to
if
the
you
bench.
build these big
P.J.
interstates,
Dozier's
not
going to
only
come
does
back
that
in.
put
And he'll replace
millions and millions of people
Dwayne
to work,
Nurdis,
Yeah,
number
but
10.
it
The
also
key, Vern,
helps
to
the
find the
automobile
defensive
industry,
transition is
the
you have
oil
one guy
industry,
guarded, and you have
home
guys
builders,
recognizing that they're
construction,
all over the place and spread, so your defense is
anybody
wide.
that
Watch for
you
Florida
think
try to
of
go all the way to the
benefits
middle
from
of the
this.
floor on their breaks.
Silva will take a rest.
And not to
He
mention,
was called for the last
when
South Carolina
the Russians
foul.
get their satellites,
first he's gonna get it
in
off
the
to
space
Frank
before the
Martin.
United States does in 1957.
Dozier, yes. Pretty.
Sure was. They took advantage of Gak not catching the basketball underneath the basket. He had a layup for Florida. They give a
Eisenhower
layup
comes
at
up with
the
the
other end
National
of the floor.
Defense Education Act, which was the
I love
first
the way
time that the
Thornwell
government
picks up a
helped
point
with
guard.
higher education And it really was the national
Fight
government
through that
pushing
screen by Gak.
to get students
Backdoor
into
cut.
things like
There
math.
There it is. He's
and
very good at
science
that. He
because they
times it
didn't want to
as
fall
well as
behind.
any guy I've seen in the country in terms of going after.
Dogwoods. I'll be in Augusta.
He also,
There's a lot of people listening who want to be Vern.
the idea of
Yeah, it's been a pretty good line.
turning into
well
this
deserved, my
massive
friend.
retaliation.
Rakeem Felder, Rakem, into the
Did
corner.
end Korea in 1953 with an armistice, but tensions were
When you
still
come out of a
high.
timeout, too, just then, you want to make sure your shooters are ready to go. Mackey, that trip, shoots the ball only at 32% from three.
And this is for a lot of reasons.
Got that one clean, though, Justin Mackey.
It sure was clean. Florida sleeping on the inbounds.
Chioza in the corner. They try for the answer. No. Rebound into the hands of South Carolina. Rakem Felder. Here's Dozier. Canyon Berry picks him up.
And so what
Silva.
happens is you get this feverish development.
That's Mackey in the corner.
Long-range
Young man who just
missiles
looks
and
inside for
nuclear
Kotsar. Settles instead for
and
Silva.
nuclear warheads, et cetera, et cetera. So
Up. Left-handed? Nope.
big buildup.
Loose ball.
This is
Berry's got it.
Yeah, released by Hayes before he traveled.
the military and industrial complex. And he basically says that if we worry too much about the military and we spend too much on the military, then other things are going to go away that we need. And he has this very famous quote that says that every gun that's made, every warship that is launched signifies theft from those who hunger and are not fed. So he says we have to be careful that our whole economy does not get driven by this scariness of the Soviet Union. Now, at the same time, though, his Secretary of State Dulles comes up with the idea of MAD, or Mutual Assured Destruction. And this will be something that we follow throughout the war. And mutually assured destruction means is that we build things so high, like if the Soviet Union builds 4 nuclear missiles, we built 5. Just so the fact that what is going to keep people from not bombing each other is the fact that we'll both have so much firepower that no matter who starts it, it doesn't matter because somebody else will end it. Meaning if the Soviets, for instance, launch a rocket with nukes at Seattle, then they will be assured that the United States is going to launch a rocket at them. And Moscow is going to be destroyed, right? This mutually assured destruction. So this is when you get the idea, and I'm sure if you ask your parents or grandparents about this, they have gone through this, is you train children through school drills on what to do if the bomb alarm goes off. You build shelters, and so on and so forth. Because during this time period in the 1950s, there was this thought that nuclear war was imminent. And so now it was all about surviving it. Ike is also president when Stalin dies in 1953, and he really goes to Khrushchev and tries to thaw relations right afterwards. And 3 years later, Khrushchev even goes on this kind of anti-Stalinist campaign in 1956. But in 1957, Khrushchev isn't liberal enough to let the Hungarians overthrow the communist regime there. So in 1957, Khrushchev moves tanks and the Soviet Red Army into Hungary and takes it over, and things go bad in Eastern Europe after that. But Ike kind of sits back and watches because he did not want to invite war, which many people argue was a smart strategy for him at the time being, because he did not, although he is a general and although he is overseeing a large impulse for Americans to build military things, Ike really does not see the world in that way as much.
To data and a team of experienced traders ready to help you if you need it. It's like having the power of a trading floor wherever you are. It's your trade. E-Trade.
rather than
Start
looking
trading
to the
today at
government, like
eTrade.com.
and things like that. America becomes what people call
2-point
this
game.
placid
South Carolina,
place
11
now,
points off
right?
4 turnovers.
Huge eccentric.
And they have been sufficiently excellent again defensively.
That's their calling card, Vern, when you think about it. And Baylor knows all about it the last game, but they just have a great tenacity to them, but they also understand positioning on the floor defensively. They understand that if the ball goes to the right side, they have to squeeze the left, and then they turn it around and come back on you a little bit on offensive explosions as in transition.
We have had 3 ties and 8 lead changes in this game. Gators, of course, won back-to-back national championships under Billy Donovan, who is now with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
When we're talking about organization,
and for South Carolina, this is their first win, or this week represents their first win in this tournament since 1973. First time ever in the Elite Eight.
First time this afternoon, Vern, in a matchup zone. Watch for the pointing, right? To see where they release from.
I listened to you. I've learned that.
Nice look.
Oh, what a pass. Up and under.
Yeah, I think he could have stayed on the power side.
I agree.
Yeah, didn't have to go fancy on that one. Get to the line if you have to.
Back outside, here's Rakem Felder.
Who become teenagers, and they were coming up.
Dozier.
And so you start getting
Under 7 to go first half.
Jungle and Rebel Without Cause, starring none other than the Rebel himself, James Dean. And they start talking about
pinpoint range again.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you have to get. You have to come away with those buckets in the attempts there.
And all of these guys, young.
Look at Chioza, quick with the ball.
Nice ball movement into the corner. Robinson, not a factor so far in this game. Devin Robinson.
Not at all, but he's a 39% shooter. That's why they love to get him that shot.
Oh, that adjustment.
They start wearing leather jackets, listening to rock and roll.
Dwayne Notice, who's from north of the border, Toronto.
And thinking in those terms. And what you
Now
also
Felder
get is this,
on Chioza.
much of what the black musicians
Able to go by him easily.
doing is being brought to white America by
Thornwell
people like
again?
Elvis Presley,
Yep.
right, the King. He's bringing Little Richard songs to the masses.
Watch Notice,
for the
little
first
ball
time.
fake.
And then
He gets Allen
later
off
on
his
you get
feet, and it's
people like
time to
Led
attack.
Zeppelin,
And boy, when the big
Rolling
comes at him, he
Stones,
adjusts beautifully just
even
then
Bob Dylan,
to keep himself in the air. And one of the things about Notice and Felder, both of those guys, when they leave the floor, they don't. A lot of guys get weaker in the air. They hold their strength going for the basket well.
The Beatles, even.
Chioza.
People
First free throw.
of the older
Thornwell picked up
generation
his second.
like, but this young
Mike Kotsar is going to set,
group of people.
take a seat on the bench, looking for,
Now,
hey
at the
guys,
same
open
time,
up
as
whatever.
this is going on, you also get the beatniks. And here is
So
a picture
Silva
of Allen
and
Iverson,
Thornwell with
Jack
2 fouls
Harrell,
each.
famous of all of them. And these
Thornwell
people
stays on the
railed
floor,
against
Vern, at the 6-minute mark.
Ginsburg wrote
Good idea.
Yeah, well, it's a good decision because they're going offensively right now, but you got to believe that the senior's not going to make a careless mistake, and I think that's what Frank Martin's going to run. Now, drive it to the hoop, you better be careful.
Turnaround jumper, perfect.
Yeah. He's got to understand that he can drive it like that, but watch the defenders, because if I'm Florida, I'm going to take a chance and jump him and try to get in his way, even if I get one block, try to get that one, and they'll go zone right now to protect him from fouls.
Thornwell has 11 in the game. Another 3 from Justin Leon. That little soft left-handed shot.
Look at how good Leon and Robinson are at shooting the 3-ball. Both of them right at about 40%.
That one I'm not so sure about.
No, that's a quick release. Don't need that one. He's going to get. I think he's going to get yanked for grabbing right now.
Yes.
Not being like your parents.
Runs into Gak.
And they are conforming. And you need to do
Frank
what's
Martin.
right for you and live a better
Look at
life.
here, Thornwell get. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah.
Please don't.
Don't do this to me.
So, lastly,
Save
let's
that
talk
one for the summer.
freedom movement.
90 seconds to go. First
Not
half.
until 1960s.
Careful with your drives here if you're Thornwell.
Really start hitting. But
Back outside, Dozier.
the freedom movement was
Down in the well and out.
gets its movement starting in the
Here's Chioza, Berry.
Game is a bit of a surprise to a lot of people.
Double team.
And really the only place where
Inside
it was really
feed.
happening in the night.
Chioza gets rid of it.
In the South.
And there you are.
Florida looks a whole lot more comfortable against this South Carolina team than Baylor did the other night.
Gosh almighty.
In 1950s.
7-point edge. Another turnover. Here comes Hill. He's got Chiozza and he's fouled. Mackey gets it.
In South, they still had signs of separate.
Not sure about that foul, too. That's number 7 on South Carolina.
Theaters, restaurants.
Here's Hayes just trying to get the handle.
Even in the
Sometimes you
West
just
and
want
the North,
to make sure you get the ball and gather it in before you even think about going for the shot. Sometimes big guys forget to catch it down low and bring it back to their hands.
Part of the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra and others. Could perform in Las Vegas with
9.4 to go. Officials over at the monitor again. Frank Martin using this as an opportunity to coach.
Robinson in 1954. In the 1950s.
Maybe determining who created the foul. But I know it's the 17th foul against South Carolina.
Stay in the same hotel.
Yeah, that's the issue. Upon whom was the foul called?
In many ways,
just a regular foul.
Yeah. Help. Right? It was just kind of this thing that was, and a lot of things were not changing. So what ends up happening is you start to get illegal assault on these.
So Casey Hill at the line.
Segregation of America in general. So it fell to the court.
66% burn at the line, so make sure you're blocking out.
Got the first coverage of the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship Regional Finals continues tomorrow at 7 o'clock on ESPN. For more information on game times and listings, go to ncaa.com. Gators up 8. Dozier. Oh, brother, he's going to get a free throw as well.
He sure will. Vern, you want to see the smarts of a play like this on Dozier. He gets like a wall in front of him, almost like football. I hate to go there with you right now, but look at this wall that he has. All the way in here, these guys are just clearing some room for him to operate, and he sees those guys moving closer and closer to the basket. What a terrific read by Dozier just then.
He's a hometown kid, resident of Columbia, South Carolina. Now Thornwell is going to get out.
Parents who are challenging
then he ends up in the air, just trips over the bodies, and big shot here though.
Children
make them all. He's not a great free throw shooter either though. 59%.
Just a general lack of equalness.
And they're going to take Javon Allen directly to the locker room. 40 seconds to go. Casey Hill.
Let's attack it first.
There's that left-hander again. This time it's down in the well and out. And a foul is going to be called on South Carolina.
Is he gets 5 cases together. And he gets one that gets all the way to the Supreme Court in 1952. It happens in Topeka, Kansas.
Interesting enough, the other end of the floor defensively, Florida with only 3 team fouls. So they may, coming down the other end, they may want to burn a foul or two if they get in trouble before South Carolina gets a good look.
Who was forced to walk across dangerous railroads to get to her segregated school. As opposed to just being able to walk down the road real close,
you're allowed
basically to the school that was next door.
That rule hasn't changed.
There's no penalty for using the rim.
It was a whites only school. And this is what will become known as Brown versus the Board of Education. All right. It attacked separate.
South Carolina has called time.
And it's basically it's separate and not equal. And even Eisenhower's people and advisors and
when did we become okay with the mystery of mystery meat? And why does it take 40 of these to make something taste like this? Today, it seems all we know for certain is that we don't always know what we're eating. That's why at Panera, 100% of our food is 100% clean. Zero artificial preservatives, sweeteners, flavors, zero colors from artificial sources. Because we believe 100% of everyone should be able to enjoy delicious, clean
Supreme Court said
food
that
as it should be.
separate but equal goes against the 14th Amendment, and in the quote field of education, it has no place. And it
On the
is
Gulf Coast,
inherently
new
unequal.
ExxonMobil projects are
And so
expected
although
to create
we'll
over
see it take some
45,000
time
jobs,
for the
and
government
each
to
job
actually
created by the
force
energy
the
industry
idea
supports
that-
2
that
others in the
schools
community.
needed to be
Altogether, the industry
desegregated.
supports over
The
9
fact
million
of the matter
jobs
was
nationwide.
that the Warren
These are
Court
jobs that natural
did
gas is
pass
helping
the
make
Brown
happen,
versus Board
all
and
while
say
reducing
that
America's emissions.
schools needed to be
Energy lives here.
desegregated, and that
It isn't always easy to know where you stand financially. Multiple accounts, investments, insurance. It can leave you wondering how it all fits together. At Northwestern Mutual, we help you see your whole picture, find out what you truly want, and then together we design a plan to go get it. There's a confidence that comes in knowing what financial security is and doing what it takes to achieve it. At Northwestern
She was
Mutual,
done with work, and
we
she
help you
went and
live
sat on the
life
bus, and she
differently.
refused to surrender her seat on the bus and moved to the back for a white rider, which was required by local law. She was arrested.
Call me.
This sparked a
Demons are
year-long
standing by.
boycott and began a mass movement phase in the South. And today
What
she's
if
still
we could
known
stream
as a
live
quote-unquote
sports, our favorite
seamstress
shows and
with
TV
hired
channels,
feet,
with no
and
annual
she became a
contracts or
symbol of
surprise fees?
ordinary people
What
fighting
if
Jim
we could
Crow.
watch live TV on our
She
favorite
was a
devices?
One thing
What
to know,
if
though,
we
she
could get
was
the
a
TV
political
experience we always
activist.
wanted?
She could
What
vote.
if we never again
She
had to
had
ask?
worked for the NAACP
What if
before, and she was
TV has
literate.
changed?
So this meant
It's
she
time
was
to change how we
picked,
get it.
and she knew what she was doing.
This
was
is
not
PlayStation View. Start your free trial today.
This was something that was planned. It was not spontaneous.
The moment you realize your family grew, but your washer didn't.
At Lowe's, we have appliances that fit your family's lifestyle. Backed by our 30-day satisfaction guarantee.
Hurry into Lowe's and save 5% every day with your Lowe's consumer credit card.
Garden, Darius Rucker.
Anybody
Lydia
else?
Bullfish, actress Katie Holmes is here. Rick and Lynn Berry, their son Canyon, playing for the Florida Gators. And Alex English.
And
when South Carolina won its last game prior to this year in
it hurt the industry
1973,
so
Alex
bad,
English was a starter.
That
Guess
in
who else
November
on
of
that team?
1956,
Kevin Joyce, Brian Witters, Mike Dunleavy, and Danny Trader. They played for Frank McGuire.
And this really
the
makes
last time
world news.
Allie and I were in the Garden for the playoffs, we were here with
a lot of
Bill
ways it's
Raftery.
good, but in a lot
We
of
took
ways
the
it's bad
subway
because
from the
the
hotel
United
to the
States
Garden, and on a crowded subway in New York, this guy comes up to Bill, and he said, Raft, I'm Kevin
That
Joyce.
doesn't look great.
What are the odds?
Meanwhile, what is
What are
also
the odds of
happening
Raftery riding in subway?
Yeah, exactly. I asked Alex English if it was okay to tell people I held him to 40 one night.
Jr. started to
He said, I think it was 44.
national icon.
Three. Oh, no good. Hang on the rim.
Yeah, good call, Bird.
Wow.
It was fun to watch, but they're not giving him that one.
Into everyday vocabulary.
Let me see him if I get a little help.
MLK talks about the daybreak of
Nice to be able to do this, but you cannot hang on and stuff it through. Good work from the officials.
Mr. and Mrs.
Might be one of their easier calls on the afternoon, right?
As a sign of respect.
They would hope that they're all like that.
Yep.
Talking to people with respect.
Allie is with Florida coach Mike White.
Coach, 7 3-pointers to end the half. How impressed were you with the way they attacked, specifically against the zone?
Not impressed with our valuing of the basketball. Really put ourselves in a lot of peril there.
Talks about how 100 years after
not only giving them the ball, but giving them transition points. We had some pick sixes there with lack of poise and maturity. They're too good in transitional offense to give those opportunities. But obviously happy that we made some shots to put us in this position.
Thank you, Alan. In which evil must be met with good, hate with Christian blood,
right on. I mean, he's shooting the ball well, but to that real concern that he had in terms of turning the basketball over and getting fast breaks going the other way. Good point.
That's the end of the first half. 40-33 Florida.
Really hits
we'll send you to ATT at the half
because
after this
saying,
message.
Listen, we as protesters, we love America and we're devoted to the national values of voting and education and so on and so forth. We just want freedom. Right? And so, in he really begins to have this nice underground by 1956.
The moment you realize,
By
how could there
1963,
possibly be
he's a
this many
full-fledged
blues?
American.
Don't worry. At Lowe's, we guarantee you'll always love your paint. We'll replace it.
Hurry into Lowe's where you'll find new lower prices, like paint and primer starting at only $17.98.
Like this as much. So in 1956,
Remember when everything you did was for the fun of doing
Rosa
it?
Parks, and in response to
BMW's X-Drive intelligent all-wheel drive technology senses traction loss and automatically shifts torque to the wheels that need it.
82
You can go
of
wherever the fun takes
106
you.
Southern
And now it's
Congressmen
available on more models
and
than
every
ever.
senator
BMW,
except
the ultimate driving
Johnson
machine.
signed
Lease a
the
BMW
Southern
X1,
Manifesto.
X-Drive, 28i, for as
Southern
low as
Manifesto
$359 a month.
denounced Brown versus Board education as a clear
Run it by me
abuse of
one more
judicial
time.
power.
Other tax filing
And
systems
called for
say
the
they're free.
resistance to
They
forced
just upside you left and
integration
right.
Clap and
by
bait and
any
switch.
means
Exactly.
necessary.
But with Tax Act, I can see all the prices right here.
Oh, so you
White
hacked
schools
in?
for white people, black schools for black
Can
people.
you see into mine?
People,
You
and
can
so
see
on.
into yours.
Restaurants.
Can you
everything.
get in there and clear up some parking tickets?
The best
And
I can
many
do
southern
is check your
states
browser
start
history.
closing down their public
track that
schools and
stuff?
stop funding their public
Sophisticated
schools.
tools and smart tax advantages,
And
all for
privately
less
giving
than the big
money
guys.
to
Tax
whites
Act.
so they
The
could
system to beat the
create their
system.
own private schools. Some public schools closed for nearly 5 years. And during this time period, the federal government tries to stay out of it. But there are isolated incidences where the federal government just could not sit by and watch. For example, in 1957, in Little Rock, Arkansas, at Little Rock Central High School, the governor at the time, a governor by the name of Falbus, used the National Guard to block the school to make sure that 9 African American kids were not allowed to go to high school there. He actually used the military. So,
Overwatch.
what Eisenhower does is he sends in his own troops, the 101st Airborne Division, to escort the 9 kids into the school. Now, this ended up not being violent, even though it could have turned out terribly, and it's an isolated
AT&T at the Half
but
is presented by AT&T.
Also this idea that there is still some pushback in a lot of
Well, Florida's Devin Robinson gives new meaning to the term hanging in the air. Unfortunately, that one doesn't count. But fortunately for the Florida Gators, they have the lead at halftime after 20 minutes of play at Madison Square Garden here in New York. 40-33 is the score. We welcome you to AT&T at the half. Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley. A couple of things are happening in this game that aren't so common, especially for the Florida Gators. There are turnovers happening. There are points in the paint going on.
Yeah, South Carolina's dominated points in the paint. Florida's had 11 turnovers, which is above the norm that they commit. But the three-point shot can white out turnover discrepancy and missed shots and getting out rebounds, although the Gators winning the board. Sendarius Thornwell doing what he's been doing all year, leading his team at a game-high 15 in that first half. 3 of them right there. Casey Hill, tough finish on the drive, quick to the rim. And Florida, one of those 11 turnovers right here leading to a bucket. For Dozier, PJ had 9 points. Gamecocks not getting enough help from the complimentary guys other than this basket here by Dwayne Notice. There's only 2 points. But it's a three-point shot, as I indicated, Greg. Florida has made 7 of 12 from behind the line. Justin Leon has made 3 of 5 himself, and that is the difference in your ball game. Everything else is about even. It's the three-point shot. Can that continue for the Gators in the second half?
Kenny, do you trust that?